What's up YouTube, in this video I'll be showing you how to make a golden apple house. I once said that a house completely made out of gold could never look good. I was wrong. Oh, and if you're wondering as to how this is actually a house, if we head round back here and we open these double doors, you'll find this nice little secret hidden base in which we have everything that we kind of need in here. It's a really cool little house in a really great shell, and I hope that you guys like this one. If you like builds like this, please do give this video a like and subscribe. It'd really help me out. Comment down below. Let me know what you want to see next. Do you have any more theme builds in mind? If you make it, show me a picture of it. Follow me on Twitter at TSMC360 and check out the card system and the description below for more. But if you want to make this a lovely little golden apple house, here's what you're going to need. Grab yourself some block of gold, some black hardened clay, some brown hardened clay, some blue hardened clay, some purple glass, some purple stained glass paint, some magenta wool, and some purple wool. Plus, if you want to make the interior for the build, and if you want to actually put doors on it, you'll obviously need quite a few other materials. But for the actual base house, this is what we need. So grab everything there. And once you've figured out where you want to make it, I'm actually going to be making it in my public park. I think it's kind of a cool little thing to hide away in here. Well, you're going to want to kick off the build with a single block of gold on the ground. You then want to take that block of gold and do two upper left diagonals from it. That's 1 and 2. Then go up on top of that second up left diagonal by 1. Then do an up left diagonal. Go up by 3. That's 1, 2, 3. Then do an upright diagonal. Go up by 1. Then do an upright diagonal. Go right by 1. Do an upright diagonal and go right by 3. 1, 2, 3. Then do a bottom right diagonal and go right by 1. Do another bottom right diagonal. Go down by 1. Bottom right diagonal down by 3. 1, 2, and 3. Then do a bottom left diagonal down by 1. Then do two bottom left diagonals, that's 1 and 2. Go all the way over to the left. Then take the two center blocks in this bottom row of 6 and extend them up each by 1 to give you a shape which should look like this. And that is the majority of the golden apple house done. Everything else from here is actually quite easy. What we now want to do is we want to take every single one of these blocks that we have right here and we want to extend them either forward or backwards by 4 rows. So I'm going to be doing it backwards just because I have more room this way, but you may feel as though you want to extend them towards you. So that's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4 rows, and you want to take every single gold block and you want to extend them coming towards the back of the build. You don't actually have to do it for all of the blocks at the bottom. You only have to do it for the blocks in which they would be exposed. Like, you wouldn't have to do it for some of the middle blocks, but it doesn't matter. You may as well just extend all of them back, and then we can hollow out the apple a little bit later on if we so choose. There's not a massive amount of space in the apple, so you might want to kind of like min-max the amount of space that you actually do have inside there, because when you have an area so small, every block does seem to count, but we can deal with that when we come to it. I just think that it's going to look really cool here in my park. Not every single one of my fantasy builds, I think, lends itself to like a real city or like a real place, but I think that this is kind of like a really cool place to put something like this. It's a really nice like Minecraft Easter egg. So this is what we want to have. We want to have the original shape extended back by 4 layers. The next thing we're going to do is this. So we want to take these bottom 2 center blocks. You know, these ones that are kind of like stuck up on top of the big row at the bottom. We want to do a row of block of gold that is 1 row above and 1 row outwards in relation to those other gold. So we want to have an outward row like this. We then want to take the left hand block of gold and we want to do a bottom left diagonal from it. Go left by 1. Then do an up left diagonal and go up by 1. Do an up left diagonal, go up by 3. 1, 2, 3. Do an upright diagonal, go up 1, right 1. Do an upright diagonal, go right by 3. 1, 2, 3. Do a bottom right diagonal, go right 1, down 1. Then do a bottom right diagonal, go down by 3. 1, 2, 3. Then do a bottom left diagonal, go down by 1. Do a bottom left diagonal, go left by 1. So you want to have something which should look like this. And once you've done that here, you actually want to do the same thing on the opposite side. So if we come to the opposite side here, and it's actually a lot easier to do on this side, because what you can do is you can look just directly forward at what you've just made, right? And you can see what you've actually done, like you can see the blocks sticking out. So if you copy from the back and do the exact same thing on the front, like literally, like, can you see the blocks sticking out? You want to do the same thing here, just copy it, just look directly forward at what you've just done and copy it onto the back, and you just want to have the same thing on both sides. The apple is primarily symmetrical when it comes to the actual body, the shape of the apple, so it's okay which side you do first, and it's okay to copy one side onto the other. The next thing we're going to do is we are going to fill in the front and the back of the apple, except we're going to do it one row outwards in relation to where the empty space of the apple is. So it'll look like this. If you can see, we want to add another layer of gold in front of the apple, only covering up the empty space, except like I said, it's one row outwards in relation to the actual apple, and I don't know how else to say it, like you can see what I'm doing, you just fill it in like that, and that's the shape of the apple really, that's the majority of it. Let's come round the back here and let's do a similar thing. So round the back we're literally just doing the exact same thing, we're just building up the shape of the apple. You don't need very many layers to make the apple look 3D, like you could add more and more layers, but the apple's quite small. It's actually modeled very, very closely to the actual, like, the apple that you can just, like, grab an item from. Like, I began with a pixel art of the actual golden apple, and I worked from there. So the dimensions, if you were to actually build it up, very similar to the pixel art of a golden apple. And that's what you want to have, guys. It'll end up looking like this. Next thing we're going to do is we're just going to do the stalk at the top of the apple. So come all the way right up to the very tippy top, and it does kind of depend. The stalk does change depending on what side you're on. So this is from the front. We want to take the two center blocks here. We take the right center block, we place a brown hardened clay on top of it. Left of that, a black hardened clay. Above that, then go up by one with the black clay. Then go left one with the brown hardened clay, then up two with the black hardened clay. So you'll have something which should look like that, and that is the stalk of the apple, looking pretty good. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to add a little bit of a sheen, a little bit of an enchanted glow to the apple, and to do that we're going to use like purple stained glass paint and purple stained glass. So we're going to use the purple stained glass paint primarily in the corners of the apple. We use the purple glass to, you know, that kind of like never effect that you get, or more of an ender effect, like the ender sparkle as I like to call it. That's what we're going to be using the purple glass for. The glass block. It's just the pane we want to use on the apple to make it look enchanted. You want to create an effect that looks like this, so kind of like going up in a diagonal fashion away from the actual apple itself, and you just want to do this, you want to create this effect going kind of like all the way around the apple. The reason that I'm not tutorialing this, I'm not saying like one block this way, one block that way, is because I kind of want you guys to add as much or as little of this as you want. If you want to add more, add more. If you feel as though you want less of this, add less. Because I actually like a sparing amount of it. I don't like that much of it. So I kind of like just a little bit on the front and a little bit on the back as well. Just like this. Like just add, I'm sorry for that. Add a little bit. It's not your phone, don't worry, it's mine. I've heard that in videos before and I always immediately look to my phone. Don't worry, it's my Facebook. So on the back of the apple, we're also adding a very, very similar thing back here too. And it's just a similar thing. You can copy it directly from the front, or you can do like your own thing. But add as much as you want. It's completely up to you. You can add as much as you want, or you can subtract some. If you think it's too much, take some away. If you don't think it's enough, add some. Like it's got, like you can even add some down below, down here at the bottom as well. It really is completely individual. It's up to you. I don't like any on the bottom, to be completely honest with you. I like it all centered up top, but that's up to you. You do you, boo. So once you've got that taken care of, we now have to add a nice pool of like enchantedness around the apple, and it looks like this. So we're going to dig a hole around the apple, and it's actually going to be the exact same shape as the apple. So we're going to dig this little hole around the apple, and we're just going to dig a nice little square like this, right? Well, now we actually have to shape this a little bit. So we're going to bring in each one of the corners. We'll bring in each one of the corners by one with the grass block, like this, because we want to shape it. We don't just want a boring square or a boring rectangle, so we'll shape it a little bit. So we'll now add some magenta wool around the apple. But we're going to be doing this more than once. So what we're now going to be doing, now that we've filled that in with magenta, is we kind of want a different shape. Like, we kind of want a bit of a curve added to this. So we're now just going to, like, dig around this one with one more layer. And we're going to add another layer of magenta in this. So we'll just dig around the magenta. We don't want it to connect at the corners. We'll leave those alone. And we just want to have, like, well, you can see what we kind of have here. We just want to have a nice little pool of magenta. And I'll tell you what, we'll add one more, and once again we want to like dig another area around, then we'll place the magenta in there, and we don't want it to connect at the corners. The next bit, however, will, so I'm not going to confuse you by doing that now. So there we go. Then we'll add another bit of magenta, and this is, like I said, this is going to be the pool of magenta that the apple sits in. It's going to make it look all nice and enchanted. You can even add like layers to this. You can add a depth effect if you want to. You can dig it into the ground, but I'm not going to. I'm now going to dig a layer of purple around the apple. So we're going to have it bend all around the corners. It's going to connect at the corners, and this is just going to give a varying shape to the pool. It's going to make it look a little bit more interesting. And once again, if you want to like add a little bit of depth to it, dig into the ground and dig a little bit further for each layer, and it'll look as though that the apple's actually like sat in a pool of something. That's kind of up to you. That requires a little bit more pre-planning, and I kind of like it like this anyway, so you don't have to do that if you don't want to. It's not necessary. Now we're going to dig a hole around the purple, and it's going to go all the way around, and we're going to add a layer of blue hardened clay in that hole, and it's going to look really nice. It's really going to put a border around the whole thing, because otherwise you could keep going and going and going with this, and you could just keep adding more and more and more, and then eventually your entire world's just going to look like a big giant ender enchanted mess. But that's completely up to you. If you want this pool to be bigger, like I said, if you want it to be 3D, do that. It's really easy to do. I'm sure that you can do it without any hassle whatsoever. And there we go. We've just added the blue hardened clay, and there you have your apple. That's most of it done. Now, if you want to do the inside, that's where things change. Coming all the way to the back here, we want to knock out these 4 blocks right at the back. And we also want to knock out the interior of the apple as well. Like I said, like, you're going to want to knock out blocks until you find the outside, and you're just going to want to replace the ones that like lead to the outside. Like if you're like, oh, I really want rid of these 4 blocks. Oh no, we can't, because that will take us outside, so we have to replace those. This is about as hollow as the apple gets. On the outside, if you want to attach a door, I'd suggest adding a gold block left and right here, and then that'll allow you to use a door. I would highly suggest the dark oak wood door, not only because it's my favorite, but because it kind of goes with the apple. It kind of looks like, you know that bit at the bottom of the apple? Kind of looks like that. And inside here, I'm going to leave it to your imagination. You have a nice little bit of room, not a massive amount. It isn't like a permanent house or anything, but it's definitely a cool little thing to store a little secret base in. If you want some ideas for the inside, I will now take you back to the original version of the golden apple, but this is the actual tutorial complete. This is the golden apple. I think that it looks great here, and I think it's a nice little addition to my public park. It adds a nice little Minecraft twist onto it, doesn't it? Let's go back to the first one. So here we are back at the original golden apple. Why don't I crack open these doors and we can take a look at what we have in here. So in here, as you might be able to tell, like the structure of the inside of the apple really hasn't changed too much. I think I've only added maybe 2 gold blocks, and everything else is just stairs. And you can see that we've added a little bit of purple glass here to kind of keep with the enchanted glow. We have the purple carpet, we have the magenta floor, we have plenty of light in here, we have some nice beams added using our dark oak wood. That could actually be improved a little bit, I think. You know, with the lighting here, it might make things a little bit darker, but maybe if you limited the light a little bit more, it might look a little bit better. I don't know, you can really like change things as you like up here. It's completely up to you like what you do for the inside, but You could even make a second floor for this apple if you wanted to. You could very easily have a second floor. It's really up to you. I mean, we have furnaces, we have chests everywhere. Some of these chests you might find have some surprises in them. You might find that a lot of these chests have some golden apples. You might not have expected that. And we just have loads of space. We have enough room for everything that we need, and it just looks great in here. And guys, that's golden apple. Hopefully that little interior plan there gave you a little bit of inspiration with what you might actually want to do with this thing. But of course, at the end of the day, it's completely up to you, isn't it? So hopefully you guys have enjoyed this tutorial. I really enjoyed making this. I love little theme builds like this, I really do. Give this video a like if you enjoyed it. I'd really appreciate it. Comment down below, what else would you like to see next? Very interested. I made this because one of you guys suggested it, and I thought it was a great idea. I hope that you do too, I really do. If you make it and you want to show me a picture of it, or anything else, follow me on Twitter, at TSMC360. If you do want to check out more of my craziness, keep up to date, subscribe. That's really important to subscribe if you want to see more of this sort of stuff. And if you want to make anything else by me, a good place to start is the card system. Check out the card system in the description below, and I'll show you how to make things like this. So this is my public park. I've showed you this before. This is where we built the apple. But what you might not know is in the card system and in the description below, you'll find a load of playlists, one of which is my park playlist, and it will show you how to make every single thing that you can see here. Everything has a tutorial, and it's not just the park. The city that we have just next to the park has a lot of builds in it that all each have their own separate tutorials. Check out my real world building playlist. It has everything that you can see here in it, including that big giant mysterious building over there. And I also do fantasy builds, if you haven't guessed as well. That is the Futurama headquarters, Planet Express. Over here we have a theme park that we are very slowly working on. That also has a playlist. The entire point of what I'm trying to tell you here is I've made loads of stuff. If you like making stuff, check out the cards, subscribe to the channel, and check out the description, because it'll have everything you need to make all sorts of awesome things like this. Thank you very much for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed the video. I'll see you in the next one.